In the history of humanity, there was a man who once walked with God and was taken straight to heaven without tasting death. His name was Enoch, one of the most mysterious and astonishing figures in the Bible. But what's even more astonishing is, why has such an important figure almost disappeared from the modern Bible? In Genesis chapter 5, verse 24, we read only a brief sentence. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. A simple sentence that conceals an extraordinary story about the relationship between man and the Creator. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Ethiopian Bible, one of the oldest surviving versions of the Bible, has preserved a treasure trove of valuable knowledge about Enoch that much of the modern world has never known. Within it, the Book of Enoch is not just an ordinary book, but a gateway to secrets about heaven, angels, and the fate of humanity. Imagine, you are living 7 generations after Adam, when the world was still in the early days of human history. It was a time when the boundary between heaven and earth seemed thinner than ever. Enoch was born in that context, the son of Jared, as recorded in Genesis chapter 5, verse 21. When Jared had lived 162 years, he fathered Enoch. But what made Enoch so special? While most people in the Bible experienced natural death, Enoch was taken straight to heaven by God. This is not a random detail. It signals something extraordinary about his relationship with the Creator. The Ethiopian Bible reveals that Enoch was not just an ordinary righteous man. He was chosen to be a bridge between the heavenly and earthly worlds. The Book of Enoch details his encounters with angels, his journeys through the heavens, and revelations about the future of humanity. One of the most notable revelations in the Book of Enoch is the story of the Watchers, angels who abandoned their positions in heaven because they were enticed by the beauty of human women. This story is briefly mentioned in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. But the Book of Enoch provides a much more detailed and vivid picture of this event and its consequences. But perhaps the most important thing we need to understand about Enoch is not the miraculous revelations he received, but how he lived his life. The Bible says he walked with God, a simple yet profound phrase. In our modern world, where life seems so busy and complicated, how can we learn from Enoch's example of maintaining an intimate relationship with the Creator? Enoch's story is not just a distant historical account. It is a powerful reminder of humanity's potential to reach for the divine, the importance of living a righteous life, and the secrets yet to be uncovered in the ancient treasure troves of human knowledge. In the next few minutes, we will explore the incredible secrets revealed in the Book of Enoch from the Ethiopian Bible. What we are about to learn may not only change your perspective on religious history, but could also change how you view your own relationship with the Creator. But before delving into these revelations, an important question needs to be asked. Why were these valuable insights removed from most modern versions of the Bible? And what led the Ethiopian Church to decide to retain these texts? To truly understand the significance of Enoch, we need to go back to the time 7 generations after Adam, a world entirely different from the one we live in. According to the genealogy recorded in Genesis chapter 5, Enoch was born in an era when people still lived for hundreds of years, and the distance between humanity and the Garden of Eden was not too far. Genesis chapter 5 verses 21 through 23 tells us, "When Jared had lived 162 years, he fathered Enoch. Enoch lived 365 years." This number 365 is not coincidental. It corresponds to the number of days in a solar year, suggesting a special connection between Enoch and the heavenly cosmic order. But what set Enoch apart in his era? This was a time when humanity was gradually drifting away from the Creator. According to the Book of Jubilees, an ancient text found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, Enoch was the first to learn the art of writing. He not only recorded what he witnessed, but was also said to be the first to study the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. In the social context of that time, Enoch lived in the lineage of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve. This lineage was believed to have maintained its holiness and close relationship with God, in contrast to the lineage of Cain, which was increasingly falling away. The Book of Enoch in the Ethiopian Bible reveals that it was during this time that the boundary between heaven and earth began to be disrupted by the appearance of the Watchers. A notable detail is that Enoch fathered Methuselah, the longest-lived person in the Bible, at 969 years. According to Jewish tradition, the name Methuselah means, "When he dies, it will come," a prophecy about the great flood that would occur right after his death. This shows that Enoch was not only a righteous man, but also endowed with extraordinary prophetic abilities. But perhaps the most astonishing thing about Enoch is how he left this world. While everyone in the genealogy is recorded as having died, Enoch is described as walking with God, and he was not, for God took him. This is one of only 2 instances in the Bible where a person is taken straight to heaven without tasting death, the other being the prophet Elijah. This event left a deep impression on religious consciousness, so much so that thousands of years later, the author of the Book of Hebrews still refers to Enoch as an example of faith. By faith, Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found, because God had taken him. Now before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 5. But the question remains, what happened during the 365 years Enoch lived on earth? What experiences made him so special in the eyes of God? And why were the details of this extraordinary life not included in the canonical Bible? To uncover these secrets, we need to delve into the content of the Book of Enoch, an ancient document preserved by the Ethiopian Church for thousands of years. The Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Ge'ez Bible, is the only version of the Bible in the world that still includes the Book of Enoch as a canonical part of it. But why is that? The Book of Enoch, written in ancient Ge'ez, is a collection of texts believed to record the revelations Enoch received from God. Notably, many scholars believe that even the New Testament contains direct quotations from the Book of Enoch. The Epistle of Jude, verses 14 through 15, is a clear example. It was also about these that Enoch, the 7th from Adam, prophesied, saying, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all." But how did the Book of Enoch survive to this day? The story begins in the 4th century AD, when Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian tradition, it was Queen Candace, mentioned in Acts chapter 8, verse 27, who paved the way for the spread of the gospel into her kingdom. Remarkably, when Western church councils began to exclude certain books from the canon, the Ethiopian Church steadfastly retained the ancient texts, including the Book of Enoch. They believed these texts contained invaluable divine truths that could not be ignored. The Book of Enoch is divided into 5 main sections. The first section, called the Book of the Watchers, tells of the fall of the angels and its consequences for humanity. The second section, the Parables, describes Enoch's visions of heaven and the final judgment. The remaining 3 sections include astronomical observations, prophecies, and teachings for future generations. A notable point is how the Book of Enoch describes the structure of the universe in detail. In chapters 72 through 82, Enoch describes the gates of the sun and moon, the seasons, and astronomical cycles with remarkable accuracy for his time. This has led many scholars to question, how could someone living thousands of years ago have such deep insights into the universe? But perhaps the most controversial part of the Book of Enoch is the descriptions of the Watchers and their offspring, the Nephilim. The Book of Enoch chapter 7, verses 1 through 2 writes, They took wives for themselves, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them. And they taught them magic, spells, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. The Ethiopian Bible not only preserves the Book of Enoch, but also places it within a broader context of salvation history. It shows that the battle between good and evil is not only fought on earth, but also in the heavens. And humans are not the only ones with roles in this cosmic drama. This raises an important question for us today. If the revelations in the Book of Enoch are true, could they help us better understand our role in God's grand plan? And why were these insights removed from most modern versions of the Bible? To answer these questions, we need to delve deeper into the cultural and spiritual influence of the Book of Enoch, not only in history, but also in our modern world. Have you ever wondered how a book excluded from the canonical Bible could have such a profound impact on global religious culture? The story of the influence of the Book of Enoch is an incredible testament to the power of ancient truths. In the early centuries of Christianity, the Book of Enoch was considered an important source of divine knowledge. Tertullian, one of the most famous theologians of the 2nd–3rd centuries, wrote in his work on the apparel of women, "I know that the Book of Enoch is not accepted by some, because it is not included in the Jewish canon. But since Enoch has prophesied about the Lord, we cannot reject what belongs to him." The influence of the Book of Enoch is particularly evident in the Qumran community, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Archaeologists have discovered at least 20 copies of the Book of Enoch in the Qumran caves, indicating the importance of this text to the ancient Jewish community. This suggests that at the time of Jesus, the teachings from the Book of Enoch were an important part of the spiritual life of many Jews. In the New Testament, we see clear traces of this influence. Not only does the Epistle of Jude quote directly from the Book of Enoch, but many scholars also point out that the concept of the Son of Man in the Gospels has significant similarities with the description in the Book of Enoch of the heavenly Son of Man. In particular, in the Book of Enoch chapter 46, verses 1–3, we read, "There I saw the Ancient of Days, and with him was another, whose face had the appearance of a man. This is the Son of Man who has righteousness with him." This description bears remarkable similarities to Daniel's vision in Daniel chapter 7, verses 13–14, about the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. In Ethiopian culture, the influence of the Book of Enoch is even more profound. It is not only a part of the Bible, but also shapes how Ethiopians perceive the universe and the relationship between heaven and earth. The traditional rituals and festivals of the Ethiopian Church frequently refer to the revelations of Enoch. But perhaps the deepest influence of the Book of Enoch is how it changes our perspective on the relationship between the material and spiritual worlds. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 14, verses 8–25, we see a detailed description of heaven not found in any other part of the Bible. "And I entered until I drew near to a wall built of crystals, and the flame surrounded it." Such descriptions have profoundly influenced Christian art and literature throughout the ages. From Dante's paintings in the Divine Comedy to medieval artworks, we can see the imprint of visions from the Book of Enoch. In the modern world, as science and spirituality seek dialogue, the insights from the Book of Enoch about the structure of the universe and the relationship between dimensions become even more noteworthy. But this raises an important question. Could these ancient revelations contain truths that modern science is just beginning to discover? As we move into the next section about Enoch's specific revelations, keep this question in mind. How can prophecies from thousands of years ago still speak to us profoundly about the reality we live in? Have you ever wondered what would happen if a person were allowed to see the entire flow of human history, from beginning to end? That is exactly what happened to Enoch in a series of incredible visions recorded in the Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, chapters 37 through 71, known as the Parables, we find one of the most detailed descriptions of the future of humanity in ancient apocalyptic literature. The first vision begins with a powerful statement in the Book of Enoch, chapter 37, verse 1. The second vision that I saw, the vision of wisdom, which Enoch the son of Jared saw. One of the most important revelations is about the Son of Man, or the Chosen One. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 46, verses 1 through 3, we read, "And I saw one who had a face like that of a man coming with the Ancient of Days. This one will overthrow kings and the mighty from their thrones." This description bears remarkable similarities to Daniel's vision in Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 through 14. But perhaps the most impressive thing is how Enoch describes the final day of judgment. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9, a passage quoted directly in the Epistle of Jude, chapter 1, verses 14 through 15, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all, and to convict all the ungodly of all their ungodly deeds." Enoch's visions also include detailed descriptions of heaven and hell. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 22, he describes the waiting place of souls before the final judgment. "And I saw the souls of the children of men who had died, and their voices reached up to heaven." This is reminiscent of the story of the rich man and Lazarus in Luke chapter 16, verses 19 through 31. A special aspect of these visions is how they are linked to astronomical cycles. In the Book of Enoch, chapters 72 through 82, known as the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, Enoch describes in detail the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, along with their significance for human history. But these visions are not just about a distant future. They also contain warnings and lessons for the present. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 91, verses 5 through 10, we see a prophecy about the rise of violence and corruption. "And injustice will increase, and they will sin and pursue greed." This raises an important question for us today. When looking at the modern world with its challenges and crises, can we see the fulfillment of these prophecies? And more importantly, how should we respond? One of the most hopeful visions found in the Book of Enoch, chapter 58, verses 1 through 3, speaks of the reward for the righteous. "Blessed are you, the righteous. You will shine like the lights of heaven." This corresponds with the promise in Daniel chapter 12, verse 3. "And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." But perhaps the most important lesson from these visions is not about specific events that will happen, but about the nature of the relationship between God and his creation. Through Enoch's eyes, we see a God who is both just and merciful, a God who cares deeply about the fate of humanity. But the question remains, why was Enoch chosen to receive these revelations? And what happened to him afterward? The answer lies in one of the most extraordinary events recorded in the Bible, the Ascension of Enoch. As we move into the final part of Enoch's story, we will explore an event that not only changed his life, but also offers hope to all who seek a deeper relationship with God. In the entire recorded history of the Bible, only 2 people were granted the privilege of being taken straight to heaven without tasting death: Enoch and Elijah. But what happened in Enoch's final moments on earth? And why is this event so important to us today? Genesis chapter 5, verse 24 records it briefly. "Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." But the Book of Enoch provides us with incredible details about these final moments. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 81, we read that before being taken up, Enoch was given one last opportunity to impart important advice to his descendants. He told his son Methuselah, "My son, I am about to be taken up to the heavens. Therefore, I want to show you what will happen on earth." Notably, the Book of Enoch describes the process of ascension. Unlike many ancient mythological stories of heroes being taken up to the sky by gods, Enoch's ascension is described with a special solemnity and sacredness. The Book of Enoch, chapter 70, verses 1 through 2 records, "And thereafter his name was lifted up while he was alive, to the midst of the sons of God, and placed among the angels." The Epistle to the Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 5 confirms this event and provides an important detail. "By faith Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found, because God had taken him. Now before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God." But what made Enoch pleasing to God to the extent that he was granted this extraordinary privilege? The answer lies in the phrase, "walked with God." In Hebrew, this phrase, halak eth ha-Elohim, implies a continuous, intimate, and conscious relationship with God. The Book of Enoch reveals that in the final days before being taken up, Enoch received special revelations about the future of humanity. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 81, verses 5 through 10, he was shown the cycles of history and the ultimate fate of the righteous and the wicked. A notable aspect of this ascension is that it occurred when Enoch was 365 years old, a number corresponding to the number of days in a solar year. This is not coincidental. In Jewish apocalyptic literature, this number is often associated with the perfection of cosmic and heavenly cycles. But perhaps the deepest significance of Enoch's ascension is that it gives us a glimpse of the potential of the relationship between humans and God. In our time, when the boundary between heaven and earth seems more distant than ever, Enoch's story reminds us that it is still possible to walk with God in everyday life. Enoch's ascension is also a foreshadowing of the resurrection and ascension of Jesus, and ultimately the fate of all who believe in him. As Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17, "Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air." But the question for us today is, how can we walk with God in the modern world? How do we maintain an intimate relationship with the Creator amidst the noise and distractions of life? As we move into the final part of our journey of discovery about Enoch, we will explore practical lessons that this extraordinary story can teach us about living a life pleasing to God in the modern world. In the modern world, with its fast-paced life and rapid technological advancements, does the story of a man who lived thousands of years ago still hold any meaning for us? The answer lies at the very core of Enoch's story, a man who walked with God amidst a fallen world. The first and most important lesson from Enoch's life is the importance of maintaining a continuous relationship with God. Genesis chapter 5 verse 22 says, "After he fathered Methuselah, Enoch walked with God for 300 years." This shows an incredible consistency in spiritual life, something many of us struggle to maintain in today's distraction-filled world. In the Book of Enoch chapter 12 verse 4, we see that he is called a scribe, one who records divine matters. This suggests the importance of recording and reflecting on our spiritual experiences. In an age of social media and information overload, taking time to reflect and document our faith journey becomes more important than ever. Another lesson comes from how Enoch faced the challenges of his time. The Book of Enoch describes a world steeped in sin and rebellion, not unlike our world today. But instead of isolating himself from society, Enoch remained active in his role as a prophet and communicator of God's message. The Epistle of Jude chapter 1, verses 14 through 15 reminds us that Enoch courageously stood against injustice. "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all." In our time, when the lines between right and wrong are increasingly blurred, Enoch's example reminds us of the importance of upholding moral values and standing up for what is right. The Book of Enoch also teaches us about the importance of balancing worldly knowledge with heavenly wisdom. While the Watchers were punished for sharing forbidden knowledge, Enoch was granted heavenly understanding because he sought it with the right motives and in obedience to God. Perhaps the most practical lesson for us today is about living a life pleasing to God in a challenging world. The Epistle to the Hebrews chapter 11, verse 5 says that Enoch was commended as having pleased God. In an age of social pressure and conflicting values, how can we maintain a life that pleases God? The answer lies in the very phrase, walked with God. This is not a one-time act or decision, but a daily commitment to live in the presence and under the guidance of God. In today's digital world, this might mean creating intentional quiet moments in life to listen to God's voice. But these lessons are just the beginning. As we continue to explore Enoch's spiritual legacy, we will see the broader impact of this story on modern faith and religious practice. Enoch's legacy extends far beyond the records in the Bible. Did you know that his influence continues to shape the faith and religious practices of millions of people around the world today? Let's explore the profound marks that Enoch's spiritual legacy has left for us. First, Enoch established a new model of the relationship between humans and God. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 14, verses 24 through 25, we see a unique description of how humans can directly interact with the heavenly realm. And the voice of the Most High spoke to me, "Come here and hear my words." This opens up a new concept of intimacy in the relationship with God, a concept later reflected in Jesus' words. "I no longer call you servants, but I have called you friends." John chapter 15, verse 15. The second legacy of Enoch is about the role of personal revelation in the life of faith. While the traditional Bible focuses on revelations transmitted through prophets and religious leaders, the Book of Enoch shows that God can and will communicate directly with individuals who seek Him with a sincere heart. Another important aspect of Enoch's legacy is the understanding of the heavenly world. The Book of Enoch, chapter 71, verses 1 through 17, describes in detail the structure of the heavens, a concept that later profoundly influenced Christian and Jewish theology. Paul, in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 2 through 4, also mentions the third heaven, showing similarities with the descriptions in the Book of Enoch. Particularly, Enoch's legacy of personal righteousness in a fallen age remains deeply meaningful for us today. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 82, verses 4 through 7, he advises his descendants, "Blessed are the righteous, who walk on the path of righteousness and do not sin like the sinners." This advice echoes through the centuries, especially significant in our time, when moral boundaries are increasingly blurred. In the field of modern biblical studies, Enoch's legacy has opened up new perspectives on the relationship between ancient religious texts. The fact that the Epistle of Jude quotes directly from the Book of Enoch raises important questions about the nature of divine inspiration and biblical canon. For the Ethiopian Church, where the Book of Enoch is still considered a canonical part of the Bible, his legacy has shaped how they view the universe and the relationship between the material and spiritual worlds. This highlights the importance of preserving and respecting diverse spiritual traditions within the global faith community. But perhaps the most important legacy of Enoch is the example of the possibility of living a holy life in a fallen world. In our time, when traditional values are being challenged and faith is facing new questions, Enoch's example shows that it is still possible to walk with God amidst the challenges of the age. The question for us today is, how can we continue this spiritual legacy? How can we, like Enoch, live a life that is firmly grounded on earth while reaching for the heavenly? As we move into the final part of our journey of discovery about Enoch, we will consider specific ways to apply these lessons to our daily lives. Enoch's story is not just a historical document. It is a call to action for each of us. First, remember the words of the Book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 1. The blessing of Enoch for the chosen ones who will live in the day of tribulation, when all evil will be removed. This is not just a prophecy for a distant future, but an invitation for us today to become the chosen ones in our own time. The first step in this journey is to commit to walk with God as Enoch did. In practice, this can begin by establishing a daily routine of spending time in silence and prayer. As Psalm chapter 46, verse 10 reminds us, "Be still and know that I am God." In our noisy world, silence can be a revolutionary act. Second, we are called to be the scribes of our time. Not necessarily to write prophetic books, but we can document our faith journey, share spiritual experiences, and testify to God's work in our lives. The Book of Enoch, chapter 82, verses 1 through 2 advises us, "My son, remember all these things and ponder over all the works of the Most High." In the digital age, we can use technology to share spiritual insights and encourage others in their faith. Another important call from Enoch's story is about maintaining integrity in a fallen world. Just as Enoch stood firm in the age of the Watchers, we are also called to live differently. This does not mean isolating ourselves from society, but living with clear values and principles amidst a world increasingly ambiguous about morality. Moreover, Enoch's story challenges us to look beyond daily worries and focus on the eternal perspective. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 58, verse 3, we read the promise, "Blessed are you, the righteous. You will shine like the lights of heaven." This is a reminder that our decisions and actions today have eternal consequences. Finally, this is an invitation to be part of a larger faith community. Just as Enoch left a legacy for future generations, we are also called to build and strengthen our faith community. Share your insights, ask questions, and engage in dialogue about what it means to live a life of faith in the modern world. So the question for each of us is, how will you respond to this call? Where will you begin in your journey to walk with God? Remember that each step we take today can be part of a larger spiritual legacy for future generations. Through the Book of Enoch, we have witnessed extraordinary encounters with God, visions of the heavens, and prophecies about the future of humanity. We have learned about the Watchers and the consequences of their rebellion, a story that reminds us of the importance of using knowledge and power wisely and responsibly. But perhaps the most important lesson from Enoch's story is not about miraculous revelations or heavenly encounters. It is about the human capacity to maintain an intimate relationship with God, even in the most challenging circumstances, as recorded in the Epistle to the Hebrews chapter 11, verses 5 through 6. By faith, Enoch was taken up. Before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. In our modern world, where the lines between right and wrong are increasingly blurred, where technology and scientific advancements raise new questions about the nature of humanity and our place in the universe, Enoch's story offers valuable lessons. First, it reminds us that knowledge must be accompanied by wisdom. In the Book of Enoch, we see the difference between knowledge given with the right motives and knowledge abused by the Watchers. This is particularly meaningful in the age of AI, genetic editing, and technological advancements that have the potential to alter human nature. Second, Enoch's story teaches us about the importance of maintaining integrity in a fallen world. Just as Enoch lived a righteous life in his age, we are also called to live according to our values and principles, even if it means going against the trends of the time. Third, Enoch's legacy reminds us that everyone can have a personal, direct relationship with God. One does not need to be a prophet or religious leader to walk with God. It is a privilege and responsibility for all who seek Him with a sincere heart. As we conclude this journey, the question is not what happened to Enoch, but how can we live like Enoch in today's world? How can we, like him, be firmly grounded on earth while reaching for the heavenly? Perhaps the answer lies in the very phrase, walked with God. It is not a one-time act or decision, but a daily commitment to live in the presence and under the guidance of God. In our digital and busy world, this might mean creating intentional quiet moments to listen to God's voice, to reflect on His Word, and to live according to His principles. Enoch's story does not end with his being taken up to heaven. It continues to live in the lives of those, like us, who are inspired by his example to seek a deeper relationship with the Creator. And perhaps that is Enoch's greatest legacy. Not the miraculous revelations or heavenly encounters, but the example of a life wholly dedicated to seeking and serving God.